A pregnant woman, struck by lightning on her way to the hospital, gave birth to a peculiar infant just before dying. The infant, devoid of hair and with a pallid complexion, seemed like a monstrous being in the eyes of the father.
That's not my son.
As if understanding the father's words, the child began crying louder and louder. Astonishingly, the doctor observed a densely packed electroencephalogram on the child's brainwave scan, spanning an entire page. This signified that the child possessed an intellect surpassing that of ordinary individuals from birth. Unable to accept this anomalous infant, the father abandoned him. Ultimately, the boy was adopted by his grandfather, who confined him in a basement for 18 years due to his unusual appearance. 18 years later, after the grandfather's demise, a police chief, accompanied by the director of the orphanage, arrived at the house with the intention of helping him. They had heard rumors that the child had been isolated from the outside world for 18 years, potentially having transformed into a feral creature. With great caution, the two individuals opened the basement door and descended. Contrary to the rumors, they discovered a clean and tidy environment, devoid of the expected squalor. The boy huddled in a dark corner. The dean extended her hand and spoke soothingly, encouraging him.
Oh, come on. Nobody's gonna hurt you. It's alright. Give me your hand. Come on.
To their astonishment, as the boy emerged from the darkness, his alabaster skin, pink eyes, and complete absence of hair left them dumbfounded. The boy introduced himself as Powder and disclosed that he had never received any formal education. However, the woman noticed Powder's eloquent and fluent manner of speech, which seemed incongruous for someone uneducated. She caught sight of a bookshelf along the wall and casually picked up a profound work of literature, inquiring if he enjoyed such books. Rather than providing a direct answer, Powder invited her to randomly turn to any page.
Pick a page.
216.
Subsequently, he recited the entire content of that page from memory. The female director was utterly amazed. Powder stated that he could recite any book from the basement, and the woman glanced around, observing 4 bookshelves containing thousands of books. She finally realized that the extraordinary boy possessed genius-level intellect, yet remained unaware that exceptional intelligence was only one of Powder's abilities. The two individuals departed the premises with Powder, marking his first venture outside in 18 years. However, as he approached the crowd, peculiar events unfolded. Suddenly, all the police cars blared their sirens, and the radios emitted unusual sounds. Strangely enough, one officer noticed a row of lightning rods installed on the roof of the house. Furthermore, forensic examination revealed evidence of electric shock on the deceased grandfather's body, despite his apparent natural death.
Are you telling me the kid electrocuted the old man?
The female director escorted Powder to the orphanage, where his arrival immediately attracted the attention of onlookers.
What the hell is that?
This is a group of homeless boys. Their personalities are wicked, forming cliques, and bullying the weak. It is easy to imagine the treatment Powder, with his unique appearance, would endure. Everyone looks at him with curious eyes, as if he were a monster. Finally, a bully couldn't sit still any longer. Powder was having a meal. The bully, accompanied by his gang, approached him. The bully lacked manners and immediately mocked Powder's bald head and his appearance.
Why you look like that? They kick you out of cancer camp?
Faced with such provocation, Powder paid no attention. Unexpectedly, the bully escalated the situation by snatching his tray directly. Then, he took out a spoon and forced Powder to hang it from his nose to humiliate him. The onlookers eagerly enjoyed the spectacle. Seeing Powder accepting the spoon, the bully laughed in self-satisfaction. Little did he know that he had picked the wrong person to mess with. Powder exerted force, rubbing the spoon and placing it upright on the table. In the next moment, all the forks and spoons in the cafeteria were drawn towards it. Everyone was dumbfounded. At that moment, the last spoon also stood up from the tray. It climbed onto the table all by itself. Under the astonished gaze of the crowd, it moved forward steadily. Now the bully could no longer laugh. Indeed, this was Powder's second superpower, the ability to control magnetism. He used his power to resolve the bullying without harming anyone. The next day, the director took Powder for a physical examination. Confirming that he was physically unharmed, she gave him a pair of blue contact lenses and enrolled him in school. She hoped that Powder could receive an education and integrate into society quickly. But she didn't expect trouble to arise in his first physics class. The teacher brought an electrical instrument. Upon pressing the switch, visible arcs could be seen. However, in the corner, no one noticed Powder's unease. First, a paperclip suddenly flew off his desk. Then, a pen started spinning uncontrollably. Powder firmly held the pen. But in the next moment, an electric arc shot across the classroom, directly hitting him. This was followed by a second electric arc. The two powerful currents lifted him up, floating in midair. This is Powder's third superpower, the ability to absorb electricity. The classmates were left in awe. The teacher quickly realized and promptly broke the apparatus, thus interrupting the electricity. Powder was taken to the hospital. After the examination, the doctor discovered that he was completely unharmed. When Powder returned to the welfare institution, a group of experts was waiting for him. It turned out that the results of Powder's IQ test were extraordinary.
All of your tests indicate that you have the most advanced intellect in the history of humankind.
However, Powder showed no hint of joy upon hearing this, because the expert's eyes held no congratulations, only disdain and rejection. He had seen too many of these looks from people who regarded him as an outsider. He refused to answer the expert's questions. All he wanted now was to go home, back to that basement. But no one allowed him to do so.
I'm interested in going home.
This was the first time Powder expressed his emotions. Suddenly, the television screen flickered, the watch went haywire, and the light bulb flickered.
What the hell's going on here?
But you already know, I'm not like other people.
After uttering those words, Powder turned around and left. A few days later, at a gathering in school, a girl took the initiative to approach Powder. She was the only friend he made in school who didn't discriminate against him. Powder was delighted and started chatting with the girl. However, before long, the girl's father arrived. He grabbed Powder by the collar and continuously insulted him, calling Powder a monster and demanding that he stay away from his daughter. The female director hurriedly intervened upon witnessing the scene. The girl's father spoke.
You keep that thing on a leash.
And then he led his daughter away. Powder was deeply saddened. Now he had lost his only friend. The female director comforted him, claiming to be Powder's friend. Upon hearing those words, Powder erupted completely.
A friend doesn't lock you up. A friend doesn't take you away from your home and say that it's for your own good. How long do you really think I'll let you keep me here?
Compared to those hypocritical and hostile humans, Powder would much rather interact with animals. He went to the forest, placing his hands on the ground. Soon, small animals emerged from the fallen leaves. But little did he know that the gang of bullies who tormented him were hunting in that very forest. The bully raised his gun and aimed it at Powder.
I could do you right now. One less freak in the freak show.
Suddenly, a gunshot rang out in the distance. It turned out to be a plump officer who had shot a deer. As he watched the struggling fawn, he shamelessly proclaimed, "My shot was extraordinarily perfect. It hit the heart. It won't feel any pain." Upon hearing these words, Powder slowly approached. He reached out one hand and placed it on the dying deer. Then, with the other hand, he firmly grasped the plump officer. In an instant, an electric current surged through their bodies. The next moment, the deer's sensations transferred to the plump officer. He howled in agony, collapsing to the ground, convulsing. The excruciating pain of the death throes tore him apart. This was Powder's fourth superpower, the ability of mental transference. He broke free from Powder's grasp, as if he had endured countless tortures. And as the conduit, Powder also experienced this torment. But in his heart, there was only boundless compassion. From then on, the plump officer never went hunting again. Upon learning about this incident, the police chief sought out Powder. It turned out his wife had been paralyzed for years, unable to speak or move. Recently, his wife's life had reached its end. Doctors said she was tormented by immense pain every minute and every second. But somehow she kept holding on and wouldn't leave. Watching his suffering beloved, the police chief turned to Powder for help. He asked Powder to reveal his wife's innermost thoughts. Powder approached the bedside and gently placed his hand on the woman's forehead, sensing what lay within her heart. It turned out her only lingering concern was for the father and son. Over the years, the police chief and their son had a strained relationship. She feared that once she was gone, they would be completely estranged. She hoped for reconciliation between the father and son, so that even after her departure, they could keep each other company and no longer feel lonely.
And she won't go? She won't leave this place until you know that you still have a son.
The police chief wept and promised to fulfill her request.
Angel, it's all right.
Goodbye, sweetie.
In his embrace, his wife departed forever. When their son heard the news, he rushed over and, seeing his tear-stained father, understood everything. Choked with emotion, he uttered words he hadn't spoken in years.
Papa.
Father and son embraced tightly, finding solace in each other's arms. Powder beheld this touching scene with envy filling his eyes. He thought it was time for him to return home. The next day, he packed his belongings at the orphanage, intending to leave this place that did not belong to him. The female superintendent sighed upon witnessing this scene, choosing not to intervene. Unexpectedly, just as Powder stepped outside, he encountered the same group of ruffians again. The bullies snatched Powder's hat and tore off his clothes, relentlessly insulting him with their words. Powder's emotions reached their breaking point. A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. The bullies' pendants and earrings flew uncontrollably into the air. Finally, Powder erupted.
What's going on? What the?
The bully was blasted to the ground, instantly losing his heartbeat. The punks panicked. At that moment, Powder approached. Using his hands as defibrillators, he pressed them against the bully's chest. Arcs of electricity crackled, reviving the bully on the spot. Though he had been bullied by the brute, his kindness led him to choose saving lives. Afterward, Powder returned to his old home, pushing open the door, only to find it empty and abandoned. He entered the familiar basement, now completely swept clean. He sat in a dark and cramped corner, feeling endless loneliness. At this moment, the female superintendent arrived. She looked at the solitary Powder, guilt-ridden, and offered him an apology. She deeply regretted taking Powder away without providing him with a better life. She said, "This dark and damp basement is not suitable for someone as beautiful as you."
But if you come with me, I promise you we'll find a place that is.
Suddenly, the basement door swung open, and the physics teacher arrived to collect Powder. In that moment, Powder felt a long-lost warmth. As they stepped out, they saw the police chief and his team also arriving at the scene. It turns out that they came to arrest and interrogate people because of the bullies. But when the police chief and Powder locked eyes, for the first time, he felt compassion. He discarded the chubby officer's walkie-talkie and chose to let Powder go. Suddenly, thunder rumbled in the sky. Powder gazed into the distance as if sensing something. Despite his fear of lightning, he unexpectedly ran towards the distance. With outstretched arms, he faced the dark cloud. Running freely, the cloud sensed him and sent down a lightning bolt, connecting him to the heavens. Powder continued to run, his pace accelerating. In that moment, he forgot the cold gazes, the exclusion, the bullying. His entire being emitted a radiant glow as he sprinted towards the dark cloud, as if he had found his sanctuary. With a halo of light flashing, Powder disappeared from this world. Some say he was an angel. 18 years ago, a bolt of lightning brought him here. But angels visited the mortal realm, only to depart with disappointment. May all kindness in the world be met with tenderness.